So before this video starts, I just want to say one thing, one very important thing. I hate the fact that I have to make this video in the first place because this is just unacceptable. It really is. I love literally everything about Dehya as a character in this game. I love her role in the Archon quest. I like her design. I like her character, her story quest actually that just came out in 3.5. I think, in my personal opinion, it's like top 10 best story character quests in the game right now. Like, it was really good. Gave a lot of like perspective on her character, like her motivations and stuff. But yeah, Dehya as a character is very good, like very easy to get attached to, very easy to sympathize with and like understand. So I don't know how Mihoyo or Hoyoverse, whatever they go by nowadays, managed to drop the ball so hard when it came to her kit. I honestly don't know. And before anyone says, "Oh, it's because like her damage is low," look, it's not just because her damage is low. If her damage was low, but she provided useful things to make up for it, then that's totally fine. I mean, that's what support characters do. The thing is, Dehya wasn't marketed as a support character. She was marketed as a DPS character. And if you don't believe me, well, clearly you didn't watch her trailer. So with that being said, let me show you the numbers for this DPS character. This is the trial version of Dehya with her best in slot weapon, no constellations. Tenacity of the Millilith set. It's got 56 crit rate and 154 crit damage. It's not too bad of a crit ratio, right? Then you get to her talents. And these are all level 8 talents, but I assure you it does not get much better at level 10. Because look at this, at level 8, okay, her normal multipliers being low isn't that big of a deal, because if we're going to be completely blunt here, not that many characters in this game utilize their normal attacks frequently to begin with. But still, for like a main DPS character, these are some pretty low damage multipliers. Like her charged attack starting out at 96.3% at level 8 with her best in slot weapon equipped is kinda sad, to be honest. But then we get to her skill. This skill has such little synergy with her burst that's all about damage that I am still confused why Mihoyo decided to market her as a DPS character. So basically, this skill was supposed to make Dehya function as the tank for the team. So incredibly long description short, she puts down this field. While your characters are in that field, when they hit enemies in this field, Dehya's elemental skill would do like a pyro follow-up attack, and it deals a small amount of pyro damage. So first off, the follow-up attack only happens once every 2.5 seconds. So at best, because the field at max level will only last for 12 seconds, you will only get about 4 to 5 triggers of its follow-up attack per field placement. Second, you can actually pick up and replace the field by using her elemental skill again while it's active, or by using her burst. But the thing is, it doesn't refresh the duration when you do that, unlike say Kokomi's jellyfish or something like that. So you can't really enhance its duration by any means other than getting constellations for her, which I'll get into later. And third, this field has a very low ICD, so you can't proc that many reactions off of it. This field has a 2.5 ICD. That's almost as bad as Toma. And it applies weak pyros, so you can't really create that many reactions off of it. And the same thing applies to her burst as well, as a little bit worse of an ICD and pyro application than Toma, for example. But more about her burst later. So, but this skill is supposed to be like the damage mitigator. Like this skill is supposed to make Dehya like tank the damage for the team. Like any damage that a character other than Dehya takes while on the field will be directed to Dehya instead. She will mitigate 46% of damage at level 8, but it's supposed to be like 50% of damage at level 10. Here's the problem, okay? This damage mitigation is redundant, because why not just run a shielder like Xingyan or Zhongli, where you can take just 0 damage to begin with. Why not just run a healer to where once you take damage, you can just heal it off like it's nothing. You don't have to have any damage mitigation if you can just heal away the damage anyways. And third, this thing is this damage reduction is so middling. It's so middling and yet not at the same time. You get what I mean? Like, it doesn't really take away that much damage from characters in the long run, but it's still enough damage to where it's entirely possible that even with Dehya's talent active right here, Stalwart and True, where she starts healing 20% of her HP and like restores an extra 66% of her max HP every 2 seconds. Once her HP is like below 40%, it's entirely possible that she can just die off field from tanking too much of her teammates' damage. So with that being said, you can't just run Dehya by herself. You have to run her with a shielder or healer. But if you're running a shielder or healer, why are you using Dehya? Because they just do her job better than her. Literally any shielder or healer in the game right now does her job better than her. You get what I mean? And not only that, but this skill has way too long of a cooldown for how little value you get out of it in the long run, as well as the fact that while you're in this field, your character will have super armor of sorts. The thing is, this super armor is temporary. It only lasts for like 9 seconds, but it's very hard to tell whether those 9 seconds run out in the heat of combat. So it's entirely possible that, say if you're like running like Ganyu for example, it's entirely possible that you take a hit with Ganyu expecting not to get knocked away and lose valuable DPS, but you do. Like, it's very common for characters to get knocked away by Ruin Guard attacks, for example. So very misleading amount of like super armor granted by her elemental skill. And then oh boy, then we get to her burst. Holy crap, dude. It does crap for damage. It doesn't trigger many popular characters' elemental burst so that it can have its damage amplified even further. It doesn't work with Beto's burst, it doesn't work with Yelan's burst, it doesn't work with Xingqiu's burst. Plus it's automatic. Like, she does her attacks automatically while in this burst, but you have to like mash the attack button so I have her punch faster. But like I said earlier, it has a similar ICD to her elemental skill, meaning even if Yelan and Beto and Xingqiu worked with Dehya's burst, you would trigger very few reactions with them. And this damage scaling is just way too low, like incredibly low. Like, even if those characters worked with Dehya, this damage is just way too low. Like, you just can't kill anything. Like, there are many clips online showing that Dehya's burst can't even kill some common enemies by itself, or kill even like hydro slimes, for example. Like, it's trash, dude. But it feels like Dehya's kit is just all over the place. Like, her elemental skill has very little synergy with her elemental burst, unlike most other characters. Like, for example, the most it does is that it picks up the field and then while the burst is active and then places it back down. But considering that the field's duration isn't refreshed during this process, it's kind of pointless. What I think they were trying to do, but just either ran out of time to implement, or had trouble balancing, or just didn't, or maybe they just didn't think about it at all. I don't know. I think what they were trying to do was to have Dehya be somewhat similar to like Hu Tao, for example, where she could like lose HP while tanking damage for her team, and then that damage from her burst could be boosted by like the health that she's missing or something like that. She could have been like a high risk, high reward type of DPS character. I feel like that's the direction they were trying to go, but didn't have the time to like make her elemental skill and elemental burst synergize that properly with each other, because otherwise These two parts of her kit perform two entirely different things, and neither of them perform their roles that well, in my opinion, which leads to her being like a very awkward character. And then we get to her constellations, bro. First of all, Constellation 1, I hate when Hoyo or Hoyoverse or whatever, I hate it when they do this. They make a constellation that by all accounts should have just been in the base kit. This first constellation is literally should have just been part of her base kit, because without it, she does so little damage, dude. I mean, she still does very little damage anyways, but this first constellation is just, it's a start towards fixing like most of her problems, is what I'm trying to say. Then a second constellation where when she uses her elemental skill, its duration is increased by 6, and then how it increases the damage of its coordinated attacks. This should have been part of her base kit. Like, I don't know why it has such a long cooldown in comparison to its duration of 12 seconds. Like, that's 8 seconds where she's not tanking damage for the team. That's 8 seconds where this already extremely weak character may as well not even be here. Constellation 4, a very good constellation. This constellation definitely should have just been in her base kit. Getting her health, because I can already see it, like getting her health restored from her burst while she's using it. Like, you get her damage low by tanking damage for the team, then you use her burst, it gets additional damage based on how low her HP is at the start of her burst, and then she restores HP and gets energy while she's hitting opponents with her burst. Like, this should have been part of her base kit, bro. Like, literally all 3 of these should have been part of her base kit. And she's so weak without it. Like, there's like very little synergy in her kit without it, dude. And C6 is he like the universal, like, oh, this character's like busted now type of constellation where it just adds crit rate to her burst, and she gains crit damage and like a duration increase depending on like how many critical hits you get during her burst. But the thing is, you have to spend so much money, especially since Dehya is going to be going on the standard banner soon, meaning the odds of getting her will be even lower, by the way. You have to spend so much money to get this absolutely trash character to a level similar to most standard characters without constellations. That is a problem, a major problem. But like I said, I'm more so upset that I have to make this video in the first place, because like when Sumeru was released, Dehya was the character that I saved up for. Dehya was the character that I wanted way back when Sumeru was released. She has such a cool design, and she's like a cool character. I like her role in the Archon quest. I think her character quest is one of the better ones in the game. Her English VA, Amber May, absolutely knocked it out of the park when it came to Dehya. So it's just, everything is good about Dehya except her kit, which, you know, I'm personally not a huge like meta guy. Like, I only use like meta analysis for like as like a guide when I'm trying to like play the game like however I want to, for the most part. Like, I'm not super like anal when it comes to like meta play in like Genshin Impact or whatever. So I would have been perfectly fine if Dehya was just, you know, slightly weak, right? But she's more than that. She is borderline useless without her constellations. It is not a stretch to say that she is the worst character in the game, because she doesn't even perform her task that well. She doesn't even perform her job that well. Dehya's elemental burst, for example, if you jump at any point during her burst, it just ends automatically. First off, no other character in the game with a burst similar to Dehya's has had a case where if they jump for any reason, it just ends. Not Raiden, not Razor, not Noelle, not Diluc, whatever. That has never ever been a thing before. And second, to anyone who says, oh, well, just don't jump, forehead, Omega lol. There are so many attacks in this game. Like, for example, during like the Raiden Shogun boss fight that require you to jump to dodge the attack, right? Like those shockwaves on the ground. And if you get frozen by an enemy, or if you get trapped in a bubble, like for example, against those Hydro Abyss mages, guess what you have to mash in order to escape? Guess what you have to mash in order to unfreeze yourself? You have to jump. You have to mash jump. But guess what happens as soon as you unfreeze yourself or free yourself from that bubble? Dehya's burst ends. Just like that. And that is absolutely asinine, bro. That is terrible, dude. Absolutely terrible. Second, her elemental skill. Like I said earlier, it's entirely possible for Dehya's teammates to take so much damage that Dehya herself can die while off field. She is the only character in this game that can potentially die while off field. That is absurd. She doesn't mitigate nowhere near enough damage to be viable as a solo tank for the team, because if you bring two shielders or a shielder and healer to the team, it's a DPS loss. So if you have to bring in an additional shielder or healer just to make Dehya viable, that's kind of trash in my opinion. It's just not as much value. But also, every shielder or healer in the game can perform their job better than Dehya. So she's a terrible shielder, a terrible healer, and she doesn't deal enough damage to be a worthwhile DPS. So what is she then? I'll tell you what she is. She's lost, and it's miHoYo's fault. I have never been so disappointed in a character's performance, dude, because look, this isn't Yae Miko. Well, she wasn't perfectly okay at launch, but she was functional. Like, she did her job, and all she needed was like an additional like support and like Dendro to really show like what she was capable of. This isn't Chi-Chi, to where all she can do is heal for the team, but she's a damn good healer for the team. No, this is worse. This is worse. This is significantly worse. Dehya is, without question, the worst character in the game. Even if she was a 4-star character, she would still be considered the worst character in the game. She is by far the worst character to ever consider pulling primos for it. And it's a damn shame because, God, I wanted to pull for this character so bad, dude. I wanted this character so bad, dude. I still do, but it's like, it's just not worth it. Like, I just can't, especially not with Shenhe around the corner, because I could potentially get C2 Shenhe this go around, and like she's very good for like cryo damage. But like miHoYo just dropped the ball so hard that I just can't, and that makes me sad. It's so sad. Like, I'm pretty sure Xinyan, like we meme all the time about Xinyan, but I'm pretty sure even she at C6, which isn't that crazy to get by the way, provides more value to her team than Dehya does, because she at least does something, especially with constellations. Like, Dehya just does, like, Dehya is really just a waste of a slot no matter which way you cut it. So yeah, I don't know. This is just me rambling about my thoughts about Dehya as a whole. I'm sure there's some things I didn't mention, but if I forgot them, can y'all please comment them down below in the comments below. Make sure to like, subscribe, all that stuff. And yeah, take care.